So you set up your ancestor altar, you've given them gifts and included them into some ceremonies. Now what? Now in today's topic, we're going to jump into what it means to establish a relationship with your ancestors and how to maintain that connection with them without having to include them or ask them for anything. Welcome to Queen's Roots. I am your spiritual metaphysical teacher, Queen Mother, and here on this channel I guide you along your spiritual journey to help you reconnect with who you really are and to understand your life purpose as a spiritualist and how to incorporate the metaphysical into your daily life. So in today's video, we're talking about how to establish a relationship with your ancestors. Now in my previous video, we discussed how to set up your ancestor altar and how to work with your ancestor. So now that you've set up your ancestor altar, I want to teach you and show you the ways and how to connect with your ancestors and establish a relationship with them. So you're probably wondering, why is it so important to establish a relationship with your Egon or your ancestors? And in this instance, we have a family here on earth, whether you include it to be family, friends, family by marriage, adoption families, or your actual blood family. And we take those times and we have relationships with these people, and we continuously work on building those bonds with our living family. That same courtesy has to go to our deceased relatives. And even for the ones that you do get to know, when they pass on, that connection no longer stops, or that relationship is no longer over. They still want to have that relationship with you and still get to see you grow and experience life and be a part of your life. So it's important that we establish those relationships with our ancestors so we can have an ultimate bond with our family. Now, our ancestors do rely on us to establish a connection with them. You say, for instance, you have a family gathering and you may need something, and you have a family you can call on, but they're not going to be as in there are some relatives that are going to go over and beyond for you because they know you, and then there's some of those distant relatives that aren't going to be as open to help you because they don't know who you are. Now imagine this same rule applies to our deceased relatives. There are many relatives that we have from past lives. There are relatives that we don't know about. There are relatives who may not even know who we are. And when we're calling on them at our ancestor altar, we are asking them to join us. We're honoring every one of our ancestors, and we're also incorporating them into our rituals. We're asking them for help. We're pretty much using them as well, their resources on the other side. So just imagine needing to get some help. They don't know who you are. So they're not going to be as open to helping you because they don't know who you are. So it works just as much as it does on the real world. The amount of time and effort you put into your day-to-day relationships, you have to put in the effort just as much as we put with our our living relatives as we do with our deceased relatives. So the second tip that I have to help you establish a relationship with your ancestor is, what does working with your ancestors look like? Now, working with your ancestors typically involve praying, chanting, singing, sometimes just sitting down and just talking to them. You can incorporate your ancestors into your rituals. You can incorporate them into any cleansing. You can just go and sit down and talk to them. As a little girl, I used to love growing up and sitting underneath the elders of my family and listening to all of the crazy stories that they would tell me about their lives, about the different things they did. I would soak in all of the information on their involvements in the civil rights movements. I would soak in the information as parents. I would soak in all of the information how they were in the crimes that they did commit, the ones that did commit crimes, the trouble that they would get in, their adventures in moving across country. I would just soak all of this in because it was fascinating to hear these stories. And not only didn't extend to just my living relatives, I also used that with I would go and volunteer at the nursing home, and I was always fascinated with the stories that these elders lived and the things that they did in their life, in their time. And I would take the information, I would learn from it. However, I just would just absorb the stories. It was just beautiful to sit and listen. And I think that's the biggest way to work with your ancestors. It's just to sit and listen. A lot of times they want to share these stories. They want to tell you about their lives. They didn't get a chance to really connect with their children or their grandchildren, or they may have died early, and then they're so fascinated with what you're doing in your life and what's going on for you. So you have to give them the opportunity to just to talk. There's some things that may have not been said before they left. There are some things that they may be experiencing on the other side that they're so excited to just share with you, and they have to, you know, you kind of have to listen. So just imagine going on this amazing adventure and you have no one to talk to. Well, you want to kind of tell your family and friends how everything is going. That's what your ancestors are wanting to do with you. They don't want to have to constantly wait on you to contact a medium or decipher the signs that you may be seeing in your day-to-day life. They want to talk to you now. So you have to kind of make sure you give them that opportunity to listen to everything that they have to tell you. So you can also help your ancestors to heal. A lot of us don't understand how much we experience here on the earth plane, and how much is lost and how much is forgotten and how much damage we do to other people. And a lot of that energy does go with us. The financial burdens, the stress, the guilt, the anger, all of that travels with us as when we just pass along. We try to release it, but there are sometimes that some of our ancestors may hold on to it, and because of that, that energy can manifest again into your bloodline. It'll manifest until they're ready to deal with it. So a good way to work with your ancestors is to really work on helping them to heal and release the stress and the negativity that they had to deal with when they were here on Earth's plane. You really want to help them shut all of that out so they can learn how to love again, be whole again, and just kind of move on and be in a more positive place. Now, the third tip that I have with helping you work with your ancestors and establishing a relationship with them is to pray. Now, praying to your ancestors, as I said earlier, you can chant, you can sing, you can dance, you can just talk to them in a whisper, you can just talk to them any kind of way that you want. But praying to your ancestors helps a lot. So when you go to your altar, just pray to them. Pray for them to help you pay your bill. Pray for them to help heal your family. Pray to them to help heal the family altogether. Pray to them about the good things that you have going on. Talk to them about the bad things that you have going on. Just talk. Pray to your ancestors, and it's going to help with establishing that relationship with your ancestors, because they're learning you. They're learning who you are. They're learning what makes you tick. They're learning the problems that you may have going on in your life. They're learning how you're learning. They're learning and observing how you handle situations that don't go your way. They're learning when and how you ask for help. So when you go to your ancestors and you do pray to them, you're not only acknowledging who they are, you're giving them the opportunity to learn who you are and why you're there. And in the process, they'll be more than willing to answer a few of your prayers. Now, in the process of working with your ancestors, you can call upon your ancestors you can delegate some tasks to your ancestors. And I feel like your ancestors are going to be the first ones. They are the first ones to have your back, because you're their blood. You come from them. They're proud of you. They're looking down and you're like, this is of me, this is who I am. Especially the ancestors that know you, who've been in this lifetime with you. They're going to be the ones to be the quickest to answer your call, because they can still relate to you, because they understand that pain or whatever you were going through when you were there. They're understanding how different, they have that fresh reminder of how difficult things were when they were here. So when you need a little bit of money, you can call upon your ancestors and they'll help you. You want to find the love of your life, they can help weed out who is supposed to be in your life and who is not supposed to be in your life. So when you ask your ancestors for help, allow them to help you, because they will help you, and they'll be the first ones to show up no matter what. I always now that I have a better understanding of the energy that I see. I always tell people like who do me wrong, I'm so sorry for what's about to come to you, because typically I know like my people ride for me. I feel like there's an army around me, so I typically know like they have my back. And because I work so hard and I'm learning even more to make sure that I can still support them as much as I can here on the earth plane, I want to give that to them. I do my best to give it to them, and they see that and they give it back to me. All right, so the fourth tip that I had to help you with your establishing a relationship with your ancestors would be, is to remain consistent. Remaining consistent, you guys. Now I know we all have this beautiful, you might have this beautiful elaborate plan in your mind, like, okay, I'm going to talk to my ancestors every single day, I want to do this. You know, set a schedule with them. Just like you wouldn't want your friends to stand you up for a dinner date, or to have someone tell you they're going to come over and then they don't show up. We all know how that feels. Our ancestors have other things to do, so they're expecting for us to show up at a certain time. When we set that, they're waiting for us to come. They want to talk to us, they want to get to know you. There are other ancestors who may want to come in. They may allow other friends of theirs to come in to try to get messages through you or to you, and if you stand them up, they begin to get angry. They can get very upset with you, and they will start not showing up for you as well. So remain consistent. Start with a small schedule. If you feel like once or twice a week is going to be doable for you, set a schedule for once or twice a week. Do not go above or over that schedule if you cannot do it, but at least sit with your ancestors once a week. Not to do a ritual, not to ask for anything, just sit with them once a week, just like going to visit a friend. Just sit with them, invite them into your space, talk to them, see what they have to tell you, and leave it, you know, and separate your time from that. You don't need to spend like hours and hours and hours at your ancestor altar. You can give them 30 minutes of your time and listen, like, hey, I got you penciled in for Tuesday at 2:30 for a 15-minute session. And then talk to them. Now 9 times out of 10, when you get more used to talking with your ancestors, and the more of them come in and they want to talk with you, and you're doing some healing and you're helping them heal, you're going to lose track of time. So make sure you at least set a time for yourself, if you have a really busy schedule, to give them at least 15 to 30 minutes of your time. That little bit of time is going to make the world of a difference to them, and a world of a difference for you. Because as you show up and you're consistent with your ancestors, they're going to show up and be consistent with you. So you want them to have your back, you got to be there too. It's a working effort, okay? So the fifth tip that I have to help you establish a relationship with your ancestors would striving to remember that you're striving for security and intimacy. Now this may sound weird when you're looking at talking to deceased relatives. How can you be secure in someone that you cannot see or physically touch or hear? The security isn't necessarily in the physical attachment, but the security is connecting spiritually. The security is knowing that what you're doing, you're going to feel secure and confident in what you're going to do. And 9 out of 10, you're going to teach other relatives how to connect and help your relatives out, or you're going to keep that tradition going with your own children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews, or whoever you have access to. That security is going to make sure that bond is not going to stop with you. Because think about it, when you pass away, you're going to want someone to come and talk to as well. You're going to want someone who's going to honor you as well, who's going to pray for you, and you want to be able to help back from the spiritual world as well. So that security is ensuring the confidence that their relationship is there and it's not going anywhere. And you have to do your part here on the physical earth to make sure you're helping others of your family to become a part of this community and stay a part of, well, it's not even a community, it's your family, you know, but to be a part of the ancestral gathering. Okay, now the intimacy is just like you're getting to know a friend. It's just taking that time to be intimate, taking that time, and I don't mean intimate in a sexual way, I just mean intimacy and being, which is our next step, being vulnerable and reliant, which is our next step, but we'll get into that. I guess that goes into it, but you're being vulnerable, you're being authentic, which is step number, I think we're on 7 or 6. Okay, I think I've lost count at this point, but whatever step we're on, is helping you to stay authentic, being real with your ancestors. If you're going to go to their ancestor altar and lie and fake it, they already know but if they want you to come and tell them, just like I have a niece, for instance. Her mom will call, my sister will call and tell me whatever good news is going on, and I'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything because I want her to call and tell me, because I want to celebrate with her. I want to, if she did something wrong, I want to acknowledge what she did and talk with her through this lack of judgment that she chose, or the choices that she chose to make. So in those instances, you gotta have to be authentic. Go out, be, you know, this is your family. They're not here to judge you, especially in the spiritual world. They understand that there are a lot more things in place than you may be able to identify yourself. So go to them, be honest, be open, be vulnerable, and let them in, and you be real with them. Don't go there and shoot the craps with them and lie and use them. They're going to pick up on it. So go and be authentic with them. All right, so the last tip that I have to help you establish a relationship with your ancestors, which I've already discussed, is just let them tell their stories. Like I said earlier, I love when I listen to my grandparents and great grandparents would tell their stories of the lives that they live. I recently had an encounter where my grandfather passed away when I was 16. My paternal grandfather passed away when I was 16, and I recently had to work through some things with him, but came back around to wanting to include him onto my ancestor altar. And when he first got there, and I kind of let my guard down to be more vulnerable with him and let him know how I was feeling, and to apologize for like the things that I thought I did when I was younger, and to let him apologize for what, you know, the things that he did and said. But he was just so excited, and the thing that he told me was there was a lot of uncertainty around his death, and my great grandfather just wanted to tell me about how he passed away and the truth about how he passed away. And I wasn't really open to it because I was like trying to block it out. I didn't want to talk about that, but he was insistent and very persistent with telling me how he passed away, and that the feelings that I thought that I had when I was 16, that they were accurate, that what I felt and knew was accurate. So sometimes they just want to talk to you. They just want to tell you their stories. It may not make sense. I love when my ancestors do come to me and they do talk with me and they do get to tell me stuff, and I may not know per se like what they're talking about. I may not even know who the people I'm talking to, but I love that I can go back to my grandma and I'm like, hey, I call my grandma Gamby, so I'm like, hey Gamby, who is so and so, you know, or who was it that used to do this and this, and is the story true, or can you tell me more about this? And then she would tell me, and 9 times out of 10 she would confirm. As long as she remembered, she would confirm whatever my ancestors were telling me. So then it makes it even more exciting, because I'm like, yes, this connection is real, I'm not crazy, right? Even though I teach you guys not to think that you're crazy from the get-go, but you know, sometimes we have those times where we question ourselves. So I'm like, yes, this works, you know, she's telling me this and they're telling me this, and I just feel so good to know like I can still bridge that gap between, you know, living in the deceased and get the real stories and get the real perspectives of everything. Establishing a relationship with your ancestors, there are going to be some ancestors you're not going to want to deal with or talk to, and I'm going to cover that in the next video. So make sure that you are prepared to see that. Hit that post bell notification so you can get the notifications when I upload the next video, so you can understand how to deal with those ancestors that you don't want to deal with yet. But other than that, if you started your ancestor altar, and if you've already started to communicate with your ancestors, if you've gotten some names or some cool stories, comment down below. I would love to see what you found out so far about your family that you may not have known, or you did know, or you just needed confirmation for. Be sure to share it down below. All right, in love and light, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. You have a good day.